What's up guys, my name is Josh and welcome to another review. Now today we're going to be talking about the Emotiva Bas-X A-100 speaker slash headphone amplifier. And there's one particular feature about this that makes it very interesting and intriguing, and I'll get more into that in a second. But for now, I want to send a huge thank you to Emotiva for sending this out for review. I do have to send this back. I'm not being paid, asked, or otherwise influenced to say anything good or bad about this speaker amp. There is a link down below if you do want to check it out. And I also want to send a big thank you to you guys. I mean, lately the subscriber growth has just been awesome. It's been really, really cool to see. So a brief introduction into the Emotiva A100 is going to be that this is one of those products that is going to be highly, highly recommended to certain individuals and not recommended at all to others. It really just depends on your situation. So I'm going to run through, as we're going through this review, on what situations I recommend it for and which ones I don't. And I'll get to the real interesting aspect of it in a second. So let's go ahead and talk about the build quality of it and kind of get into that. So this is a heavy, large, and an industrial looking and very well built device. You know, I think it weighs about 11 or 12 pounds. It's fairly well built. I don't really have any complaints. There's slotting all along the top, so depending on if you find that good or not, you may want to hide that. Although that is for venting because it does put out quite a bit of heat. Regarding the front, you have a 1/4 inch output and a volume knob, and then around that volume knob there's a blue/amber ring. The amber is either standby or an error, and the blue basically means you're good to go. Now regarding the back, you have a power switch, you have an RCA in and a RCA pre-out, you have your speaker outputs, and you have a trigger and a trigger pass-through. Now the trigger, if you don't know, is basically you can hook this up to something like a preamp or something that has a trigger, and basically when the preamp has a signal going through it, it turns on this automatically. And if you don't have a signal passing through it, it'll turn off automatically after a certain period of time. I don't have anything with the trigger, so I can't test how long it takes. Now, regarding the headphone out, I actually can't find the regular headphone out power specs on the website or in the manual. So that's a little weird. I can say it's not very powerful in the regular mode. However, this thing has something that they call direct drive. It's something that I'm not sure if I'm officially allowed to tell you that I've done, but it's definitely a wink-wink situation if you're catching my drift, where you can install jumpers in this. They give you the little jumpers and you can plug them in, and it basically takes the full speaker output and directs it out the 1/4 inch in the front. So you're all grown-ass adults. You can make your own decisions. This is something that I don't necessarily recommend unless you are only plugging in very, very, very difficult to drive headphones like a HE6 or like some of the T50 mods. So in direct drive mode or bonkers mode, it turns into a 50-watt headphone amplifier, which is just ridiculous. All right, so let's talk about the sound. I'm gonna break it down into 3 categories: the speakers, the regular headphone out mode, and then the direct drive or bonkers mode. First, let's talk about the speakers tested on the KEF Q100s, the Emotiva Airmotive B1s, and the Mica center channel speakers. So regarding other 50-watt amps that I've tried, this is a pretty noticeable improvement for speakers. You're definitely getting a lot more speed than something lower end with 50 watts like an 8018, which also has a headphone output, or the Oragain, for example, which granted, both are cheaper prices than the $229 that this comes in at. But for the speakers, I honestly don't have any complaints. I felt like it was more than competent. I felt like it was driving the speakers very, very well. I didn't feel like 50, at least in my small room and out in the front room, I didn't feel like 50 watts was a limiting factor here. But your situation and your room and how loud you play your music are gonna be different than mine. So 15 watts may or may not be enough for you. For me, it's plenty. And regarding the quality of it, for the speakers, I have absolutely no complaint. Although it is worth noting as a disclaimer that I don't have a whole lot of experience with speaker amplifiers yet. That's something that I'm working on. It's gonna be part of the channel coming up soon, I hope. But I do definitely notice a difference from this to the other amplifiers that I have tried, and even compared to AB. So for what it's worth for speakers, it gets my recommendation. Okay, so for headphones, like I said, there's gonna be 2 parts. So the first part, the regular mode, it is a clean amplifier, although not great. It's not super powerful, and it definitely doesn't have quite the resolution of something like a cheap amplifier, like a Liquid Spark here, for example, or a JDS Labs Atom, or a higher priced amplifier that's similar in price, being the A-100 X7S. I recommend all of those for the regular mode. I recommend all those for their cleanliness and their sound quality over the headphone output of the A-100. Now the bonkers mode, and this is really kind of where things get a little bit interesting. So in bonkers mode, it's a whole lot of fun. It's very unique. If you have a headphone with a ridiculous power requirement, I do recommend it. But I do have some reservations, and I am a little bit disappointed in the resolution of it. But for a headphone amplifier, this is undeniably unique, simply because of the power output. And for some of you, it might just be worth purchasing just out of curiosity. Now in that bonkers mode, if you're even running something like 6XXs or DT1990s, or I mean, really anything that's kind of an average headphone in terms of power requirement, there's a really, really high noise floor and a lot of hissing if you're in the bonkers mode. In the regular mode, not a problem at all. That noise floor gets dropped to a pretty much inaudible level for me. So that mode is kind of like, you know, I almost wish there was like a switch or just a toggle that you could turn off, maybe even in the device or like hidden on the side or something that wasn't going to get switched easily to where you wouldn't realize. But something that would make the switch a little bit faster. That way you could plug in your easy to drive headphones on the regular mode and then just switch it over real quick, making it a little bit more versatile. All right, so my conclusion. This amplifier is one of those things that either fits your needs or it doesn't. I recommend getting this as just a speaker amplifier, or if you have one, or you know, if all your headphones are really hard to drive and you have speakers to power, I do recommend it. If you have a really difficult to drive headphone, I also recommend it. If you have average headphones, or if you only are looking for a headphone amplifier, I think you are better suited with other amps personally. It's definitely a niche product, but it is one I recommend to those whose needs it fills. All right, guys, thanks very much for watching. Thanks Emotiva for sending this out. It was very interesting and a lot of fun to mess around with. And additional thanks to all the patrons who help make this channel possible. You guys always kick ass. And until the next video, guys, my name is Josh, signing off.